Into approval processes though, that's another area where I think we can make some of these really good marginal gains. You know, looking at internal approval processes with some of our customers, you know, you run into recurrent problems. In one case that was looking at getting correspondence approved by a general manager for release, we found it was amazingly labour intensive. You know, by the time you add it all up, there was about 2 hours of time in just managing the approval of correspondence for release. There were also lots of instances where, you know, letters were sent with no approval at all because, you know, the approval was unclear as to whether it had been given. There were lots of letters that got to a general manager with zero context around them. So it's just like, here, can you sign this random letter, which obviously they didn't do and wasted a lot of time. You know, lots of stuff got to a general manager without being appropriately screened first, just to make sure it, you know, right templates, right legislation, etc. When they implemented a process using, you know, just cover sheets to do this too, you know, the problems actually kind of got worse because they'd have cover sheets that had fall off because they were just paper clipped onto things. And then, you know, you get to the end of the process and things have been approved and then the cover sheet disappears. So there's never any evidence of approval. So, you know, when we map these processes out, you know, what you get is actually, it's not particularly complex. And, you know, you can build this in the Content Manager Workflow Designer in, you know, depending on who's doing it, you know, it's 20 minutes to half a day's kind of work. So it's not difficult to build in Content Manager. Obviously, there's a people change aspect to it as well. But when you start looking at the economics of this sort of thing, you know, you take 2 hours, you multiply it by 1,000 approvals per year, and, you know, you may be higher or lower than that, depending on the sort of work that you're doing. But, you know, that is a huge amount of time. And, you know, if you're looking at a sort of, you know, lower level public servant wage to do this, you know, even at the sort of ASO 1 in South Australia, where I am at the moment, which is the bottom of the food chain, your costs for that head are probably about $68,000. So there's about $68,000 that you can use for a business case there. And, you know, obviously we're starting to see some of this stuff popping up as well with external you know, approvals and contracts and those sorts of things, with everybody being quite interested in some of the digital signature products, particularly the ones that integrate to Content Manager. We've done quite a lot of work with those recently. But we've also built an add-on as well for Content Manager Workflow, because one of the complaints that people have had over the years is that it is a little bit clunky. I might just get Alex to talk through that as the builder of this workflow.
Yeah, so this functionality was developed by us to supplement the existing workflow in Content Manager. More and more we see that we're up against other products in the market who offer sort of a slicker looking interface and a few more options around the way that the workflow works. So what we did was develop a couple of little add-ons to workflow to enhance the experience for end users to use workflow, so we can get them to complete their tasks without necessarily having to go into Content Manager. So what we've got here is actionable emails, and effectively what it is the workflow notification email that gets sent to people has got a link in it which says click to complete. And if we go to the next slide, we can see what happens when you click on click to complete. So at the moment, we've got this top process here where people will get the email, that'll have a reference file attached to it and maybe a link to the web client. They'll open that reference file, it will take them to Content Manager. They then look at the task. If they have to look at the record, they then go and navigate through to the record, understand what they need to do, and then they can complete the activity within Content Manager. What we wanted to do was make it simpler, more like the bottom procedure there, where basically once it gets assigned to them, they get that email, they can click on something within the email, and if there's no decisions required from there, it's basically already complete. If they have to choose an outcome, then they've got a drop down to choose that. And so this is what it looks like here. On the left, we've got an extremely simple workflow, and in the middle there you can see there's an email that someone's received, they've clicked to complete, their browser comes up, and in this case they have to choose the result of the activity, and the result is either approved or not approved. So the drop down comes straight up for them there. They choose which one and click complete. All of this is done in a way that's completely extensible for however you configure your workflows. So those results that come up are based on what you define in the workflow, and there's no other configuration required. if you need your staff to have a look at those, maybe there's a document they need to review and they need to go through to that document, they can navigate through to the web client from the web page that they end up on. So they don't have to complete it straight away. They can say, actually, I want to see it. They click on the web client button and they go through to the web client. From there, they can obviously view the document. They can navigate back to the workflow activity if they want, or they can go back to that original email and move through there to complete the activity. And once it's complete, they get visible feedback to say that it's been completed. They get that tick box, the same as what they would see in the web client, and it becomes grayed out. So there's nothing else that they need to do.